Good afternoon, gamers. I am SuperViperT302, and this is going to be Broken Kart 64. I'm going to be playing through all 16 of these tracks on 150cc, and basically anything is fair game. So I hope this run entertains you, or else it goes incredibly poorly, which would also be entertaining. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1, video games. Okay, so as I said in this run, basically any kind of shortcut is fair game, intended or otherwise. I tried an unintended shortcut there, but it didn't quite pan out. What I was trying to do there was off that start boost, I was trying to boost myself into DK, and since Yoshi is a lightweight character and DK is a heavyweight character, boosting into DK would have actually caused me to sort of jump off of him, and then I could jump over the grass and land in the tunnel below, which would have saved me like 12 to 13 seconds right off the bat. But anyway, so I'm just going to be kind of driving around Luigi Raceway here. I have a blue shell. I actually got a blue shell from an item box earlier. If I hadn't got that, I would have gotten a blue shell from the item box on that balloon, since that one always contains a blue shell. But this is going to come into use at the start of lap 3 here in a little bit. So until then, I'll talk about this main driving mechanic. These little drifts I'm doing are called mini turbos, where as I'm drifting, I'm oscillating the control stick back and forth at various frame intervals, and that allows me to build up the smoke charge until it reaches orange, in which case I can release and get a small burst of speed. So that's kind of the key mechanic to going fast in this game. Okay. That was a little later than I would have liked to do it, but yeah. So the blue shell, as you probably know, it aims for whoever's in first place, and I was in first place at that time, so it aimed for me. And the knockback I got from it allowed me to sort of fly over that wall, and again, that just saves a bunch of time. So that's one track down, 15 to go. A good time for Luigi Raceway without shortcuts is like somewhere in the low 140s on 150cc. With if I had gotten the other shortcut, it would have been even lower than that, and there are other alternatives if you're playing on the right version, but still save time over a non-shortcut run, so works out. So Moo Moo Farm is the first of a few tracks that doesn't have any shortcuts, despite how long we've tried to find one. So really the only thing I have to worry about is the moles, which are RNG dependent. As long as I don't accidentally drive over one of the holes, then I should be fine, but knowing me, I'm going to do it at some point. So one thing I should probably touch on right now is why I'm playing as Yoshi. So it actually doesn't matter whether you choose to play as Yoshi, Toad, or Peach, since they all have the same top speed, and they're all the fastest characters. For the purposes of this run, however, Yoshi is quicker to select off the kart menu when you switch between cups, so I'll be using Yoshi for the entire run. Also, Yoshi and Peach are actually slightly heavier than Toad, which only matters when you're interacting with other characters. And another thing that's worth noting is that there is an item table in the game that has exact probabilities for every item in every place you can be in, for both you and for the computer players. So, for example, a mushroom in first place I know is a 10% chance. And obviously you can't really manipulate what items you can get when, but there are going to be some shortcuts later on where I want to maximize my chances of getting a certain item, so you'll see me sandbag for them. So yeah, 116 there is pretty decent for me when it comes to Moo Moo Farm. I only hit one mole. It's also worth noting that the CPUs are actually pretty tame with items in this game. They can pick up shells, but they will never use a shell. And the 8th place CPU has a 1% chance of getting a lightning. So you may see me get hit by a lightning in this run, but it's usually pretty rare. So Koopa Troopa Beach also doesn't have any super major shortcuts here. It does have this tunnel jump, which was intentionally built into the course, as you can see. So this would be allowed in a no-skips run. And then there's also another glitch coming up here in a little bit. Okay, so you're not supposed to be able to get a lightning in first place, but there's actually mismapped polygons to the right of the finish line there that mistakenly think I'm behind by a lap, and while I'm on those polygons, I can get an item from a further back place than usual. So for a few frames, the game thought I was in 8th place, and so it gave me an 8th place item when I ended the item roulette. So what I'm trying to do with that glitch is get like a star or a golden mushroom. Triple shrooms works also. Basically any item that speeds you up is good. So that glitch does exist on a few other courses. Oh, I just got a boo, so... Boos are pretty interesting in this game. First of all, I can use them for iframes, but in 150cc Grand Prix mode, they don't actually steal items from other CPUs. They function exactly as a normal item box, so you have the same probabilities of getting the same items, except you also have a 20% chance of getting nothing. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that there are some tracks where I need a specific item to do a shortcut, and we're coming up on the first one here, which is Calamari Desert. So I'm going to be sandbagging for items in 8th place. And there's a few different combinations I could get, but the primary item I want here is a star. And you have the highest probability of getting it in 8th place. Okay, I got it first try, that's super nice. I'm actually going to hold on to this until lap 2. So what I'm going to be doing here is actually an Easter egg shortcut of some sort, where there's the 1% chance lightning I was talking about. And no skips driving, a lightning loses about 4 seconds, so that's about as much time loss I had there. But what they actually programmed this shortcut into the game, where if you drive through the train tracks to my left, and then as you pass by the finish line you activate the star, then it advances you forward a lap. However, Nintendo is not that great at making games, especially in this era, so they kinda just did not take into account that you can actually enter the tunnel the other way, which is exactly what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna wait for Lakitu to tell me to turn around right around here, activate the star, and then I just skip a lap. Just like that. There's also some other fancy-smancy shortcuts you can do with like red shells and stuff, but that's the primary one. Also here I'm holding a banana to zoom out the camera. This is actually reducing lag. Yes, doing this does reduce lag. We're not entirely sure why. But you'll see me use that on a few tracks. And I'm going to be resetting the console after every cup, because it skips the trophy ceremony and allows me to get to the next cup a little bit quicker. Although if I were doing this on a clean cartridge, it wouldn't actually save the gold trophy. That would actually be a little bit too early. So Toad's Turnpike has a plethora of shortcuts we will use. I'll use the classic one. This shortcut's actually pretty difficult. So that was intentional, that was not a mistake. Okay, first try. Nice. So there's a trick in this game called the Lakitu effect, where once you go out of bounds and are placed down by Lakitu, you have about 1.5 seconds where Lakitu can't actually pick you up again. So during that time, you basically have free roam out of bounds. So I was able to use that to hop from the higher part of the stage to the lower part, which cuts out a good portion of the track, but I can actually take it about a step further. Okay. So if you do the first shortcut in a very specific way, you can actually trigger a broken checkpoint system, where you'll notice there I didn't really do anything special. I just jumped out of bounds as soon as I crossed the finish line, and it just warped me halfway across the track for no good reason. Funnily enough, that glitch is actually not present in earlier versions of the game. It's not in the Japanese 1.0 version of the game. So they fixed something for later versions that broke this. It's kind of hilarious. Although the Japanese 1.0 version does have faster shortcuts that are used RTA, but I'm not playing on that version, so I can't use them. So when it comes to no skips driving, obviously in this category, these shortcuts save a lot of time, but it really comes down to getting these mini turbos down and doing as many of them as you can, and making sure you take the proper lines. Standard driving game stuff. So yeah, 139 is pretty decent for me on Toad's Turnpike with the strategies I used. Again, a good no skips time for that course would be like low 230s for me. So saved almost a minute there. And now I actually get a little bit of a breather, because Frappe Snowland is probably the easiest track in this category. It's a blink and you miss it kind of thing, so I'm actually just going to turn around at the start here, head over to the bridge, and then turn back around and hop onto the snow. And then I'm going to cross the finish line and go out of bounds. So what's going to happen here is that the game's going to place me back behind the finish line, but far back enough so that it doesn't decrement a lap. And I can basically just do this over and over again, and just finish the race this way. So yeah, I just finished all 3 laps faster than a no-skips player could actually finish one. And again, that shortcut is insanely easy. You could literally learn it in just a couple minutes. But now we're coming up on some of the more... This is one of the biggest run enders, especially in mid-game, Shaco Mountain. This will be the first track where you'll see me attempt wall jumps. And although this game has a visual frame rate of 30 frames per second, it actually does physics calculation 60 times per second, so I'll just refer to this in a 30 FPS way. So if you hit a certain type of slanted wall and jump the frame before you hit it, not like that, then you can actually jump off the wall and get an insane amount of air. Well, okay, like that. And that can allow you to clear certain gaps. What you saw on the first attempt on that wall jump there was actually what's called a zero-frame jump, where sometimes if you have too much speed when you attempt a wall jump, you skip over the frame where you're able to perform a wall jump, so you just tumble right away, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So I'll give this another shot here. Okay, so there was another zero frame. Again, if that happens, then I probably timed it right, but it just wasn't meant to be. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, this is usually what happens in this track, is when you get here on a good run, and then you just get zero framed over and over and over again. It's really annoying. And the jump and the big jump especially saves a hefty amount of time, so you really want to get it as many times as possible. And in my PB, I actually got it 3 for 3. Oh my god. So much stuff in my way. So hopefully I can get this at least once, because it is a really cool thing to show off. Oh, nice banana placement. Yeah, CPUs, they don't really use shells, but they love placing bananas in inconvenient spots. Okay, so now I just need to finish the race in the top 4. Because if you finish a race in 5th place or worse in Grand Prix mode, you actually have to redo the race. So let's not do that. Alright, still got 2nd. That was a really bad Shaco. But that just kind of happens. Sometimes the game just doesn't want you to have a good Shaco. And again, there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. Okay, but now we got another bit of a breather. So Mario Raceway, there are actually a number of shortcuts you can use here, including a lap skip that involves red shells. But I'm not very good at that shortcut, so I'm probably just going to be driving this track non-shortcut. If I get a mushroom, I might attempt an older shortcut. That's also pretty difficult, but less of a risk to go for. But it's also very likely that I could just use the shroom to cut a huge part of the sand and grass right around here. So this would be a good time for donations if there are any. There's not really much I have going on here.
They sure are. We have a super generous $100 donation from Space Narc saying, I just want to see the loser do more squats. And that is, of course, going towards the bid war we have for the Metal Slug race later on, where the loser will do squats, and there is $5 per squat. So that is 20 squats right there. Thank you so much for that donation. And we also have another $50 from Platinum Azure. There's no comment for this one, but regardless, thank you so much for that donation. You were very generous.
We're coming up on the second reset of the run here, so again, don't panic. These resets are intentional. I'm not quitting the run or anything. I'm actually using an interesting bit of tech there, where I'm holding down the N64's reset button before I cross the finish line, and then I release it as soon as I cross the finish line, which causes the console to reset immediately. Alright, so here's Wario Stadium, and this is the second longest track in the game without shortcuts. With shortcuts, it can be the fastest, but it depends on how nice the game wants to be to you. So a very well-known shortcut here, you can hop this wall, and then you can actually hop right back over if you do it correctly. Like that. Again, that's another frame-perfect jump that's sometimes literally impossible. Right. Alright, that was an insanely good Wario Stadium. That might have been the best Wario Stadium I've done in a marathon run. So yeah, anything under 30 seconds is just absolutely nuts for that track. So I will definitely take that. Alright, and now we get another little breather here, from shortcuts anyways. This is Sherbet Land. There are shortcuts that are doable in time trials, and if you look up the All Cups task by Drew Weatherton, there are CPU jumps and all that you can do, but none of those shortcuts are really viable for Grand Prix mode at the moment. So I'm just going to be kind of driving this track normally. Overall, this track doesn't have a whole lot going for it. It doesn't actually have ice physics, by the way. At least I don't believe it does. And the only real things to keep in mind are you don't want to run into the penguins. The penguins are on cycles, so if you drive the same way every time, they will be in the same places every time. And also, you don't want to fall into the water, because then you turn into a frozen ice cube, and it takes a couple extra seconds to break out of it. So if there's any more donations or if there's any plugs that can be made, this is also a really good time for that.
Always happy to do more plugs. The last donation we got for $50, I didn't mention what it was towards, but it is towards the bonus run incentive for Celeste Classic to 100% by Sex Rex. So if that's something you would like to see as well, you can donate towards that. It's quite a big goal by $1,200, but we have until tomorrow evening to meet it, so there's still plenty of time to get your donations in for that.
Yeah, give us the monies. I'm gonna hit a penguin here. No, I'm not. I'm too good at the game. Yeah, it's really easy when you get hit a wall or get thrown off your mini turbo pattern to sort of lose your line, and then you hit something and you lose a bunch of time and you get really sad. Big mistakes are common in this run, but little mistakes are just as aggravating. Oh, also, I haven't yet mentioned what I'm doing during these point screens. I'm actually holding start and mashing A, and that allows me to advance through them much quicker. Okay. So now we're going to get back to breaking the game, because that's more fun. So Royal Raceway has a pretty interesting series of shortcuts, but I'm only going to be doing one of them in this run. There is a lap skip you can do involving red shells, but I have not learned it, and I doubt I ever will, so we're just going to do this instead. Okay, so that worked. So what I did there is you'll notice there's a polygon line on that wall across from the river, and you want to hit just to the right of that polygon line, and for some reason that makes the game think you attempted the big jump from that ramp and missed. So it just puts you at the ramp, and that saves like 14 to 15 seconds per lap. There is actually another shortcut you can do on the ramp that saves like less than half a second, but because it's pretty risky to go for, and it loses quite a bit of time if you miss it, so I'm just gonna not bother with it. Alright, that should work. Nice water texture unloading there. I don't know why that happens. So you're actually looking for the word poomp when you see that shortcut be performed. If you see the word poomp, it probably worked. If you don't, it probably did not work. So that's actually a really nice visual indicator. Yeah, for top-level runners, this track is actually a major run ender, because triple red shells, which you need for the optimal route here, are a 20% chance in every place except first. And not only that... Okay, that didn't work. I didn't see poop, so that didn't work. Yeah. I can still net time save by doing this shortcut, though. And not only that, but the shortcut is insanely precise, and you have to do it 3 times in order to get in order to net all the time save. But you only get 3 red shells unless you get double, triple red shells. So yeah, a lot of runs have ended here for top level runners, but don't need to worry about that here. By the way, you probably noticed that I was able to accelerate pretty quickly from a stop there. That's something that the lightweights have as a bit of an advantage over the other players, although all players have this mechanic. If you quickly tap the A button 3 times in a row from a stop, you will accelerate much quicker. Okay, so that was Wario Raceway. And now we're off to Bowser's Castle, which once again does not have any shortcuts, unless you watch the task, but yeah, none of those shortcuts are really viable for RTA. So the main thing to keep track of here are the thwomp cycles, mainly with these thwomps here. You kind of have to see which thwomps are up and which thwomps are down and react accordingly. But the thwomps, again, they are on cycle, so if you drive the same way every time, they will be in the same places every time. And that, you can actually spin yourself out in 150cc. I don't think you can do that in any other mode, but it's okay, I was just sandbagging for items. And keep your eyes open for Marty. None of the blue thwomps are Marty, so if you think any of them are Marty, that's not him. Alright, so I got a mushroom here. I'm actually going to hold on to this until the beginning of the next lap, because there's a really, really convenient shroom spot I can use this for, and I'm going to get crushed. That was a very unfortunate turn of events. So that sucked. Getting thrown off with the thwomp patterns is thank you, DK, for being stupid. I think it was DK that ran into that. No, it was Peach that ran into that. Yeah, again, CPUs, they don't throw shells, but they like to drop a lot of bananas and fake item boxes in very inconvenient spots. It really sucks. There's one track in particular where it's at its most annoying. Alright, so here's that shroom spot I was talking about. Although I'm not going to get to make full use of it because of that banana. This Bowser's Castle is really scuffed. Alright, which thwomps are going to be up here? Alright, I was able to bait out and do right side strats there. Yeah, it's really just a matter of seeing and reacting, and I'm not doing a very good job of that. Okay. So yeah, that was a pretty rough Bowser's Castle. But at the very least, I made it through without killing the run or anything. And last reset of the run. So we just have 1 cup left at this point. And the special cup is where runs go to die in this category. Special cup is actually quite difficult. So first we have DKs Jungle Parkway, aka the laggiest course in the game. Although I'm actually going to mitigate most of it because I'm just going to turn around right at the start. And similar to Frappe Snowland, there's a wall here you can kind of just drive through. And the finish line extends just out of bounds, so I can cross the finish line while out of bounds. And optimally, you land back in the cave, but landing in the water is fine too, because you still skip a lap that way. And I can basically just do this 2 more times and then the race will be over. So again, I am still skipping laps with this method, but it would be good if I could actually land in the cave. It would also be nice if I could get a banana or a fake item box. Alright, so at least I got the lap skip 3 for 3. Still saving a lot of time over driving the track normally. Okay, that's really good. So you can actually hold items behind you during the point screen for some reason, which means that I'm just holding the Z button the entire time, which means I am constantly reducing lag. So this is probably going to net me, like, at the very least, like, a few frames, which is nice. Okay, and up next we have Yoshi Valley. So this track can actually go a variety of ways depending on what items I get here at the start. So I'm actually going to try farming for triple mushrooms here, which you have the greatest probability of getting that in 5th or 6th place. And I got a golden shroom instead. So golden shroom is fine, I just have to do a backup route that's like 15 seconds slower or something. Less than that actually, if you just do this right away. So I'm taking the rightmost path here, which is actually the slowest path for no shortcuts, but for some reason it breaks the checkpoint system, where I can just do this. That is only possible if you take the far right path. And basically it just puts me like a lap ahead, and now I'm right here. And this is the hairpin jump, which is, again, that is not considered a shortcut for some reason. So now for lap 3, I can use the golden shroom to do what I would have done with the triple shrooms on all 3 laps. So I'm going to head over here, line myself up, and then use this speed item to hop the fence. And you want to hit that dark line and get that bounce left, so I got it. For some reason, that just messes up the checkpoint system to where it just skips a lap for you. Because video game. Alright, so now we just have 2 tracks left. So Banshee Boardwalk also does not have any shortcuts that I can use in this run. I do want to be keeping an eye on the CPU rankings, however. Because if... Okay, that was a great start to Banshee Boardwalk. But, so, when you select your character in the character select menu, it automatically selects 2 other characters to be your rivals. And these characters rubber band bet harder and overall just drive better than every other character in the game. So, you want those rivals to actually be heavyweight characters. Oh my god. This track is so infuriating. It is so easy to just fall off, as you can see. So, basically, optimally when I get here, I want one of my rivals to be either Wario, DK, or Bowser, who are heavyweight characters, and I would want them to finish in 1st place while I finish in 3rd, because that can actually allow for a CPU jump you can use at the start of Rainbow Road. But it looks like I have Toad as my primary rival, so unless Bowser really picks it up here, I doubt we'll be seeing that. But yeah, those 2 falls really set me far back. This track is a nightmare for bananas and for banana placement, because it's super easy to just hit a banana and just get spin out off the track. You can sort of prevent yourself from spinning out after you hit a banana, but it's hard to react in time. Okay, so if Bowser can stay in 1st place here, then I could still maybe at least show off the CPU jump. Optimally, I'd actually want Wario, because he's the lightest of the 3, but Bowser will work as well. Oh. I hate this track so much. Okay, so now again, I just have to actually finish in the top 4 here. Okay, we're not even going to go for the gap jump. Alright, so hopefully I can at least still beat Wario, because then I'll still be set up for the CPU jump. Alright, so in a bizarre turn of events, that actually worked out somewhat nicely. Because I finished in 3rd place while Bowser finished in 1st, which means this might be a bit weird because Bowser's actually the heaviest character in the game, so I'm gonna get an insane amount of air from this. But you'll just have to see what happens. Oh, okay. So I didn't get the start boost there. That's fine. We'll just do this instead. I'm sure everybody knows this shortcut. Okay, I'm amazed that worked. Okay, so that's the standard Rainbow Road shortcut. So now, okay, green shell, I got that, that's perfect. I'm gonna hold on to this until the end of the lap, because I can actually do lap skips with the green shells here. This is a pretty annoying track at the end of the run, because you have to do that. Yeah, this is another track where there are faster shortcuts than what I'm doing here, but I don't know how to do them properly yet, so we're just going to do the standard route for this track. This is normally the longest track in a no-skips run. It takes almost 5 minutes with good driving. But with shortcuts, and I can actually cut the time down by over 3 minutes. So we're coming up on the first green shell skip here. There is a pretty consistent setup to get this, so hopefully I can pull this off. I do need to get this within a couple tries, though, because you actually can't get green shells of any kind below a third. So if enough CPUs pass me, then I have to drive an extra lap. Okay, that worked. So similar to Frappe Snowland and DKJP, I'm going to cross the finish line and then go out of bounds, and then I'm going to get placed far back enough behind the finish line to where the game doesn't decrement a lap for me. So I'm an entire lap ahead now, and now I have even more time to get another green shell and do that exact same thing. Alright, I'll wait for the CPUs to pass me. Okay, so time is actually coming up here pretty soon. It's going to be when I cross the finish line for the final time. So get ready for that. And time. Alright, so my timer says 30:51. That's actually less than a minute and a half off of my PB, and almost 7 minutes behind the current world record of 23:52 by Beck Abney, who is just absolutely insane at this category. So, if you really want to see just how far this game has been pushed lately, definitely check that run out. But yeah, that's Mario Kart 64. I hope that run was enjoyable for you, and I will throw it on over to the host now.
Thank you so much. Do you have any final plugs or any comments you want to make?
Actually, I'll do that real quick. MarioKart64.com is the primary place to go for if you want to run time trials. There's a fairly active community for that. So, I don't partake in time trials myself, but if you want to run time trials, definitely check that place out. And thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for your run.
Thanks for having me.